Welcome back, tiny friends. Since Disney and Pixar just released the new Toy Story movie, Toy Story Part 5, and is now playing in theaters, I thought this would be a perfect time to finally get this Toy Story project checked off of my miniature bucket list. I haven't seen the new movie yet, but I am definitely planning on it. The first Toy Story was released in 1995, and now that it's 2026, I am super excited to see what the toys have been up to. If you have kids or grandkids, then you probably know this movie and all of the lovable characters. If you're an adult without kids, I highly recommend you watch the movie from the very first one because I am sure you're going to love it. It has become a nostalgic classic, even for adults without kids. My Toy Story will be based on the toy's biggest fear, which is being left behind.
What? Oh, I don't want any toys left behind.
Hey, watch it, buddy.
Where do we go?
It's okay, guys. It's really not that bad. Matter of fact, it's not really happening. It's just an idea.
It's extortion, that's what it is.
Okay, I don't think the toys are very happy with me or this idea, but I'm pretty sure that things are looking brighter in the new Toy Story movie. At least, that's what I'm hoping for. Before I get started, I just want to address some of the questions of where I found these characters. The Toy Story characters come from the Disney Mini Brands Series 2. I purchased a few lots off of eBay. This little guy came from, I believe, Micro Toy Box, but I also purchased it off of eBay and a lot with other nostalgic toys. The nostalgic toys come from the Micro Toy Box, which releases tiny replicas of nostalgic toys from the 80s and 90s. It also comes with a page that shows you all of the series and all of the different toys that they release. I collected from Series 1 and Series 2. In each brand, you'll receive about 5 mystery bags, and they range from about $5 to $7. A lot of times you can find these on the clearance racks for just a few dollars. Slinky Dog was gifted to me by another miniature friend. I purchased them from my local Walmarts and Targets, from online sites like eBay, Etsy, and Mercari. Most are perfect size for 1/12 scale miniature projects, but you do get some 1/6 scale as well. With the new Toy Story movie now in theaters, a lot of these characters have spiked up in prices, so be careful for price gouging. Just be sure to shop around for the best prices that are going to fit your budget. I recently did a search before uploading this project, and there are still a lot of good deals out there to be found. The first thing I'm going to need to do is carefully remove each figure from their boxes because I don't want to ruin their boxes. Each of them are attached with this tiny little plastic piece. When I removed Rex, he was completely missing his tail. It just was never there. A lot of these figures have holes in the back of them, and that kind of shifts my plan a little bit because originally I had planned on having all of the characters facing the window while they're trying to process what is happening. We just see their backs, but now I'm going to have to face them towards the viewer, which is perfectly fine because then we get to see all their cute faces. As for their boxes, I am definitely going to keep these for something else. I have no idea for what, but I just can't bear throwing them away. So I guess I'll just store them in my hoard. I'm going to start off with creating the window, and I'm going to use this vintage window from Miniature House. I was just gifted this window and thought it would be perfect for this project. I really love how the window slides up and down. I'm going to have to modify the top a bit. So I'm going to use my mini hairdryer to heat up the glue and release the pieces. I want to save the trimming because I think I can use it for the new window. I'm using my craft knife to cut the remaining top off, and then I'm going to sand it with my filing stick to smooth it down and square it off. Cutting the trimming pieces down with my miter shears to fit each other, and then I'm going to use tacky glue to glue them into place on top of the window. I'm going to use wood glue to fill in the gap and smooth it down, so when I paint it, it's not so noticeable, and it looks like this is just one whole piece. I painted the window white, and I also printed out a window scene that kind of resembles the window scene in the movie. I printed it on transparent paper because my plan is to install a light that will resemble the sun and illuminate the day scene as if it's a nice sunny day outside. Hopefully, this will put the toys at ease and symbolize that there is still some light at the end of this doom and gloom situation that I'm about to put the toys through. I'm going to use this old bamboo placemat that I pre-painted years ago and no longer have a use for it. Now it can be the blinds on Andy's window. Right now, I'm just temporarily tacking the window scene onto the window so that I can have a better visual while I'm working on the window. But I will permanently install the window scene onto the back of the window after I install the window. And I'm just using tacky glue to glue the blinds into place. I think there's about 3 or 4 windows in Andy's room, but I'm only going to be focusing on one window in this project. I do want to add a few details to the window, like the turning stick, so I'm just going to use a toothpick, sand down the edges, round them off a bit, and paint it white. I'm going to use this piece of string that looks like a twisted or braided cord for the pull cord. I'm going to double it and add a knot to the bottom. I'm also going to tie it off at the top where the double strand will end. The top part will be a single strand that I'm going to run along the top of the blinds and just tack it down with a little bit of tacky glue where I want it to sit. I'm going to glue down the end of it to the top of the stick. Once the glue is dried, I'll cut off any excess string. To build Andy's room, I'm going to be using foam core board and I'm going to double up the panels. So I always want to make sure to start off with a fresh craft blade. I purchased this container of blades off of Temu. It was only a few dollars and it was one of the best purchases that I made from Temu. While I was in college, I majored in graphic design and we had to use foam core all the time for our projects and our prints. I was taught that if you take your time while you're cutting and hold your blade straight up and down, after 2 or 3 passes, you'll get a nice clean cut without any beveled edges. My instructor also showed us how to properly dispose of our blades by simply wrapping them up in either painter's tape, masking tape, or duct tape. I'm starting off with the floor panel that measures roughly around 9¼ inches by 10½ inches. I'm going to use this random oak flooring made by Houseworks that I purchased from the second-hand craft store. I did read the instructions and it says for best results, use a non-water-based glue or spray adhesive. I cut down the pieces that I'll be using. I'll also be using some antique wax and matte varnish by Duraclear. I cut a skinny strip of the flooring to conceal the side of the foam board that will be exposed. The bigger panel will hang over the front of the floorboard and conceal the foam to give it more of a finished look. In Andy's room, the floorboards have a few different shades of different wood stains. I'm going to create that look with the antique wax. On the darker boards, I'm going to apply it more heavily and just let it dry. For the boards with a lighter shade or tone, I'm going to apply thin, light layers and even wipe some of it away to create even lighter shades, and then leaving some boards as is. Once the paint is dry, I'm going to sand it with a fine grit sanding block, and I'm sanding in circular motions to prevent any scratching. To install the floor, I am using this Aleene's Tacky Spray Adhesive. I was very surprised to find out that this was a non-water-based adhesive, and it was the only thing that I had on hand. I have been very hesitant to use this, so I've never used it before. I took it outside, and I held my breath. It's very sticky, and the spray came out like spider webbing, so I would definitely suggest using it outdoors or in a well-ventilated room, wearing gloves, and even using a spray box for this. I was very nervous. Luckily, I got minimal glue on the flooring boards, and it was easy enough to remove. It does work really well. However, it did release the paper backing from the foam core board, so I ended up using wood glue to reattach the flooring to the foam board. I let it sit overnight and placed a stack of books on top of it for the weight. To seal it, I finished it off with a layer of matte varnish by Duraclear. For the two walls that I'll be installing, I did double the foam board on these. I'm using balsa wood for the beadboarding, and I'm painting them with white paint. I cut out the window, and I added satin varnish by Duraclear to the white paint to make it look like house paint. I did start adding the trimming, but I can't install all of the trimming until after the wallpaper is installed. For the wallpaper, I downloaded a print of Andy's room wallpaper and I modified it to fit a 1/12 scale. I measured it and cut it down and left a little excess hanging over the wall so that I can wrap that around the side of the wall to conceal the exposed foam board and give it a more finished look. Lately, Mod Podge and I have become better friends, so I am going to be using matte Mod Podge to attach the wallpaper to the foam board. For the window wall, I really wanted to throw in a reference to the menacing neighbor kid.
Uh-oh.
It's Sid!
The toys do have a fear of Sid because he's not very nice, and he likes to take toys apart and rebuild them in sort of a Frankenstein kind of way. The sort of toys that are unlike any other type of toy that Andy's toys have ever seen before. So, in the minds of Andy's toys, Sid's room is like a torture chamber for toys. Now that I have the wallpaper in place, I'm going to go ahead and install the window. This part of the window came detached, so instead of gluing it back, I decided it would be easier to add it separately. I cut out the same shape from the foam board so that when I install it, this part of the window frame will line up with the rest of the beadboard. Now I can insert the window, and I'm just using tacky glue to attach it. There are a couple gaps where the two pieces used to be connected. I'm just going to fill those in with wood glue, and then I can touch it up with white paint later on. Okay, I've got my walls in place and they're nice and stable. Now I'm going to go ahead and begin adding some of the trimming. I'm beginning with the windowsill. I've painted a piece of balsa wood and I'm just putting it right into place with no glue needed. It fits nice and snug and it'll stay put. I'm starting off with the smallest piece on the outside of the window. I'm just popping it into place with tacky glue. I'm just filling in any of the gaps that I come across with glue, and then later on I can touch it up with paint. I only saw 2 gaps on this piece, but I'm running a bead of glue along the whole board for added security. For the crown molding, I mitered the corner ends so the 2 pieces can fit together, which is a more proper way to go about it. I'm just using tacky glue to put these into place. For the top of the walls where the foam is exposed, I decided to use a strip of poster board to cover up those pieces. And then I also decided to run that poster board strip all the way down to the floor. Even though I folded the wallpaper over to cover up the exposing foam, this kind of worked out because the paper gave the glue something more stable for the glue to stick to. And it just feels more cohesive all the way around the edges. I forgot to miter the first pieces of trim that I laid down, and the two corner pieces couldn't connect to each other. They ended up leaving a big hole. So I'm adding an additional trimming piece going from the top of the trimming to the crown molding. It filled in the hole and it worked out great. Now I can finish out the remaining trimming to the beadboard. And I'm just going to use a cotton swab to push it down into place and wipe off any excess glue. Now I'm super cautious about mitering my corner pieces. So for my baseboards, I cut them at a 45-degree angle, and now they can be installed and properly fit together. Now it's time to install the window seam. I'm going to be using my 3-in-1 for this. I slightly cut the piece a little shorter than I needed, but it's still going to work out. I'm just going to carefully line it up and put it into place. This is the little light that I'm going to use for the sun. It's just a little twist light. I have no idea how I'm going to install this, but the idea is to make the light look like it's the sun reflecting the day. I'm hoping that this works out. I have no idea what I'm going to create, how I'm going to install this. I'm thinking of some sort of maybe window box. So if I can build some sort of window box and achieve this, then I'll be happy with that. I don't want the box to stick out like a sore thumb, so I'm going to cover it with Andy's wallpaper so that it can fit the aesthetics of the project. I'm using matte Mod Podge to attach the wallpaper onto the pieces, and I'm going to cover the pieces completely so that it's inside and on the outside. All my pieces are cut and wrapped, and I thought it would be super fun to make this a sunny side donation box. In the movie, we see several scenes where there's a designated donation area where people just randomly drop off boxes of old toys that say Sunnyside on them, and then those toys are delivered to Sunnyside Daycare. Another fear that the toys have, because they have no idea what Sunnyside is, they just know that unwanted toys get dropped off there. Through the series, they eventually make their way to the Sunnyside Daycare, where they meet new toys that become part of the clan, and their new owner, Bonnie, who is Andy's neighbor. While Andy grows up and goes off to college, Bonnie becomes the toy's new owner. I made a little piece out of foam board that will hold the light and be somehow attached to the door. I'm not very good at hinges, but I'm going to use metal hinges for the door. I've cut out little inserts where the metal hinges will sit. I'm also going to use this plastic piece that was left over from a crescent bond kit to create the handle. This plastic piece is what little knobs were attached to, and I just never threw it away. These types of builds are still new to me, or I'm still new to them, but this is all a learning process for me. What I'm going to do is mark where I need to create the inserts for the hinges on the door by lining it up with the side panel where I've already created the inserts. And hopefully these hinges will work properly. I'm using my craft knife to cut out a very thin layer of the foam board so that the hinges can be glued into place. I did some research on the best way to install these to foam board because foam board is a little bit finicky. You can only use certain types of glues, and this is metal being glued to foam. And what it came up with was to add a piece of painter's tape or masking tape inside the little inset that I carved out for the hinge. So I'll be using tacky glue to glue the tape to the foam board. Then I can glue the hinges to the tape, and the tape will give the hinges something to attach to. I also searched what type of glue I should use for the metal hinges, and it said E6000. I don't have any E6000 on hand, so I'm going to use B6000. 7,000. It did say I could use that as well. So the tape is getting glued in with the tacky glue. The hinges will get glued in place with the B7000. And hopefully this works out. I glued the light piece into place, and I just didn't see any sense in wrapping it with the wallpaper. So I'm going to use some cotton and make it look like a little cloud. And I'm just gluing the cotton in place with tacky glue, concealing the whole piece of foam board. This little light cloud will be sitting inside the box and will only be seen when the door is open to turn the light on and off. But I still wanted to add a little fun detail inside the box. Okay, it's the next day and I have installed the box. I'm so scared to open this. But so far, it seems to be working out. The box isn't perfect, but it does do the job. And it looks better fitting the theme than if I just added a white box on the back. It is working pretty good. I'm okay with it. It's not lined up completely how I wanted it when I was just setting the light there in place, but it's doing a good job. So I'm happy with it. Now that the room is completed, I can move on to create a few details that will be sitting in the room. I'm starting off with a Pizza Planet pizza box, and I created this template in my Photoshop. Pizza Planet is Pixar's version of Chuck E. Cheese. In my opinion, it's a way better idea. It's a total space theme where kids can go enjoy their games and have fun, a great fun center for the kids to play in, and you can have their pizza. And if parents couldn't fit the fun center in their budget, well, they deliver. So families can still enjoy their pizza at home. Before I glue the box sides together, I'm going to take my circle template and my dotting tool and create an outline of the pizza, where the pizza cutter would cut the slices and leave an imprint on the box. Now that I have that small detail in place, I can go ahead and glue the sides of the box and finish it off. This was a pretty simple pizza box template that I found online, and then I added the Pizza Planet image to the top of the box. And then I printed it out on cardstock, making the box a little more sturdy. I want to add a few details inside the box, so I'm going to use vegetable oil to simulate the pizza grease that stains the bottom of the box. Now, you won't really see a lot of these details because of the way the box will be sitting in the room, but if the viewer looks closely from the side of the room, they'll be able to see all the details sitting inside the box. Next, I'm going to use polymer clay to create some pizza crust that was left behind. When I was a kid, I always heard the adults say that the pizza crust was the best part, but kids never eat the best part. I'm not really sure how much of the inside of the crust you'll be able to see, but just in case you can see any, I'm going to use white because the inside of the crust is always lighter than the outside. Next, I'm rolling out a very thin layer of the khaki color clay, and I'm going to slice a few pieces. Okay, I'm wrapping the white clay with the thin layer of khaki clay, just like a hot dog inside of its bun. And then I'm just going to press it lightly just to flatten it very slightly and trim off the ends. This crust needs some texture, so I'm using an aluminum foil ball to create that texture that the crust will need. I'm going to take my little clay tool and just cut out some bite marks. Before I bake the crust, I'm going to shade it with some deep yellow ochre earth pigments. And I'm using my damp brush to add these pigments. Next, I'll just use whatever's left over on the brush and rub it around the inside of the box. Now that my crust is baked, I'm going to add a few more details to it. I'm going to use some brown chalk pastel to darken the crust. And now I can glue them into place with tacky glue. This crust looks pretty good, but I still feel like it's missing something. I think I need to create some sauce. If you're following my This Old Camper series, then you've seen me do this technique for rust. I'm creating a paste with clear tacky gel, a little bit of water, and cayenne pepper. Now, what I found out since using this to create rust was my very first time is over time, it turns brown. So if you want to keep that rust color, I would add a little bit of maybe some orange brown paint or some red paint, or better yet, maybe some burnt sienna pigments or maybe like a brick colored chalk pastel to keep the color intact. So yes, my rust on This Old Camper is now brown and not that rusty color. So I may have to go in later on and try and resolve that with some chalk pastel. Now I didn't really realize that was going to happen until after I made this pizza box and I came back in and it was no longer that red saucy color, it was now brown. For this pizza box, that's okay because over time it would probably turn to that shade of color anyways, so I'm okay with that. But in the future, when I use this technique again, I'll be adding some color pigments to it so that it can hopefully stay the color that I want it to be. For the next few details, I have been inspired by these two pieces to create these ideas. The first is going to be a garbage bag full of old toys, broken toys that was left behind in the room when the family moved away. I'm using an actual garbage bag to create a miniature size garbage bag. For me, this is the best way to recreate a real life piece in miniature form by using the actual material from the piece you want to create, as long as the material allows it and you're able to get away with it. For example, a bag of sugar. If you were to cut a piece from a real bag of sugar to create a miniature form, I feel like it turns out a little more realistic. Now, I can't always get away with this, but whenever I can, I do. I just cut a little piece off of the garbage bag flap so that I can still use the whole garbage bag later on. I've cut my piece down and I need to somehow figure out how I'm going to fuse this together because I've already tried glue and that just was not working very well. I decided to take out my mini flat iron and I'm going to kind of do what my aunt used to do when she would press dried flowers into wax paper and create bookmarkers. So I'm folding the wax paper around the garbage bag so that I can seal it. And I was so excited about this idea that I actually forgot what I was doing and just started going to town. So I actually just want to seal the edges. But that's okay. I'm still going to use this bag, even though I almost sealed half of it closed. This technique worked out so great. So I'm just going to trim that excess off, and that's going to leave me with a boot-shaped garbage bag. But I'm going to glue that part to the floor, so it's never going to be noticeable. Now I'm going to turn the bag inside out. And I can roll the little opening down a little bit and place it on the floor. Now I have a garbage bag and it's ready to be filled and it's super strong. That was a great idea. So I will definitely be using that in the future. This spaceship claw machine is actually at Pizza Planet and is one of the games that the kids can play. Of course, this will be sitting in the bag since it gave me the idea. I'm also going to pull out some random pieces for different shapes and fillers to fill the bag. And I pulled out some more toys. I'm definitely going to use Candyland because that is always one of the first toys thrown away. I mean, it's a game for younger kids and they always tend to lose the pieces. So it's always the first thing to go when parents are cleaning out old toys and games. I'm really not sure what's going to make it inside the garbage bag, so I just pulled out some pieces that have potential. And I had 3 glowworms, so I think it will be okay to pretend to throw one away. Okay, so I'm just beginning with some random pieces. I'm not really thinking about this too much. I just want different shapes poking through the bag and a little bit of foil for filling. I mean, I just want to stuff this bag. I'm using tacky glue to glue these pieces into place, and it does take a lot longer to take hold because these pieces are being glued to plastic. But it does eventually take hold after a long enough wait. I have this random arm that broke off of an action figure, and I cut it down. I'm going to glue this inside the bag and make it look like one of the toys were trying to escape the bag as if they were reaching out for help in hopes that another hand would pull them from the bag and save them from their fate. As if I wasn't putting the toys through enough stress already, they are definitely going to be mortified and freak out when they see this. And honestly, I don't think we're going to have very much of a friendship. After this, I definitely don't think they're going to be big fans of mine as much as I am of theirs. Okay, we're going to move on from that tragedy and create another tragedy. Only this time, it will only be related to Buzz Lightyear, who thinks that this box is his real spaceship. And he has no idea that he's only a toy. In the first Toy Story movie, Andy has a birthday party and receives the new toy trend, who is Buzz Lightyear. The original Buzz Lightyear box has wings that kind of flap out from the sides, so I'm cutting out one wing that will flap outward. When Buzz is thrown into Andy's bedroom as the new toy, he sees that his spaceship is all smashed up from being opened. I'm pretty sure Buzz is not going to be too happy about this, but it is an iconic moment in the movie. So I'm going to smash up this box for Buzz's sake.
Blast! This'll take weeks to repair.
Sorry, Buzz. Okay, I need to make these 3 characters. The Potato Head couple and Ham, who is also known as the evil Dr. Porkchop. When Andy's playing with his toys, that's who Ham is. He's Andy's piggy bank. The only 3 characters I didn't have in my collection, so I'm going to have to make them, and I'm going to use polymer clay to do this. Mr. Potato Head has evolved over the years, and before Mrs. Potato Head ever came around, there were many faces of the Mr. Potato Head. This is my Mr. Potato Head that I played with in the 70s when I was 4, and I even have pictures of myself wearing his glasses and his hat. This Mr. Potato Head was put out by Romper Room, which was a toddler show, and I remember it vividly because it was one of my favorite shows. Mr. Potato Head has always been put out by the toy company owned by the Hassenfeld brothers, known as Hasbro. So I'm not really sure why this one was put out by Romper Room. Maybe they had some sort of partnership. If you don't think this Mr. Potato Head is creepy enough, then let's take it back to the beginning, to the evolution of the Mr. Potato Head. In 1952, a man named George Lerner created potato head accessories and limbs for children to play with, only they had to use real fruits and vegetables to be able to create the funny face man. This was post-World War II. Parents were not tolerant of kids playing with their foods, and they didn't like the idea of wasting perfectly good food. A cereal company bought the rights to the toy from George Lerner for $5,000, and they had planned to put the plastic pieces in the cereal boxes as prizes. The Hassenfeld brothers felt that this toy had way too much potential to just be cereal box prizes. They purchased the rights from the cereal company, and the Hasbro Toy Company began to build the Mr. Potato Head empire, becoming one of America's top 10 toys. Here's Mr. Potato Head in the 60s, and apparently he also had other fruit and vegetable friends known as Mr. Potato Head's Tutti Frutti friends. This Mr. Potato Head was put out as a limited edition to celebrate the 50th anniversary. This is the Toy Story version of the Potato Head couple. Now, Mrs. Potato Head has always been around since the 50s, but I don't think she was as popular as Mr. Potato Head. Matter of fact, she didn't really blossom in her potential as a potato head until the 90s, and she became even more popular after her debut in the Toy Story 2 movie. In my opinion, this is the best version of the Potato Head couple. Then along came the Potato Head family, where they had potato spuds and potato pets. This is the collection that my oldest grandson played with, and I found it at a secondhand children's store. I'm going to be using Rex to keep the three characters in scale. I'm going to mix these two colors of polymer clay. Now, it does look like the right color now, but it did get darker after it baked, and that's okay. Plus, it's a little shimmery, and I like that too, so that's okay. The potato heads did get lighter in color as they progressed over the years, but I remember my potato head being very dark. So here I'm thinking they're going to be perfect color, but they did get darker. The potato head couple took about 3 days to make because there were so many little details that I had to make for them. And in the image that I'm referencing, Mrs. Potato Head looks really distressed. And that's the look that I'm going for. So I'm really just trying to follow along with the image. It was really a challenge to create these little characters because they're so tiny. I had to take a long break from them and finish other parts of the project. But once everything was completed, I had to go back to them. And I was really afraid that I wouldn't want to go back to them. But I really ended up being more excited to finish them off. Right now I'm working on Mrs. Potato Head. And in the movie, she's always losing a body part. So she is missing an eye, but I'm sure she'll find it later. After placing Mr. Potato Head's hat on his head, I didn't have enough room to paint on his eyebrows. So he'll be missing his eyebrows. Now all I have to do is add their hands, but I still need to work on their eyes and touch up the white because it's a bit dirty from working with all of the colors. So I'll be using white paint to freshen up their white, and I'll be adding their eyes with a fine tip black marker, and I'll also be using black paint and a dotting tool. I'll be glossing their eyes and their shoes with a layer of satin varnish by Duraclear, and I'll be glossing their bodies with the matte varnish just to give them a light shine. It's time to make the very last piece to this project, Ham. He was so much easier to make and a lot faster. The clay that I'm using is a bit softer. I'm not sure what type of polymer clay it is because it didn't have any print on the package. But whatever it is, I love it. It didn't take very long at all to complete Ham because he was so simple. I'm adding his cute little snout, and then I'll just blend that in with my little smoothing tool. It's kind of like a spoon, but I love using this. I cut tiny little pieces for his cute little ears, And I'm using a dotting tool to shape out the inside of his ear. Now I can just use my silicone tip to add them to his head. Any of the body parts that I'm adding, I am using liquid Sculpey because liquid Sculpey is like a glue for clay. And as it bakes, it fuses the parts together. I've added his cute little mouth. Look how cute his little mouth is. I cut out the little money hole in the top of his back, and I'm just using a few different tools to clean that up. He has pink cheeks, so before I bake it, I'm going to add some pink pigments to his cheeks using chalk pastel. I'm going to go ahead and finish these little guys up. You're going to see what they end up looking like in the final results. Now it's time to put everything into place.
Oh, God. Oh, it's gone. Bye-bye. Woo, see ya.
Well, it was an accident, guys. Come on.
No, Woody, look! It's really happening!
Time for the next kid.
Oh, this is it! This is the perfect time to panic!
And that completes today's project, tiny friends. I really hope you all enjoyed this one. I know it doesn't look like there's very much going on in this scene, but this project was really all about the concept behind the story. This build was a total learning process, and I had so much fun during this. Although I don't think the toys are having a lot of fun. I really hope that they can get used to the idea that it's just that and not their true story. As always, I like to thank you all for watching, even if you're just passing through. Thank you for visiting. I like to welcome all my new subscribers. Thank you all so much for all of your support. Please don't forget to click that like button and give it a thumbs up, and let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If this is your first time visiting TinyKeyHoleMinis and would like to see more of my miniature content, please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that top bell notification button to be notified every time I upload a new project so you don't miss out. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you all on the mini side.
And he left me behind.